What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your weekend review for April 6th, 2020. We still don't have 3.9. Where is it? I got no patch notes to update with you, but I do have a monthly report, so we're going to start out with that. Starting out with Ship AI, they're focused on making sure our combat is more dynamic and interesting against AI. So the problem here is that they've yet to address the actual way that we fight them. You can't miss an AI who's running away, and that's what they're working on, figuring out how they're going to run away if you're using auto-gimbaled weapons and you can't miss. I just, sometimes they say priorities are focus. Obviously, this is Ship AI versus some other system, but man, it's really hard to listen on improvements to AI when I know I'm going to get in the game and I'm not going to feel those improvements correctly because the improvements in other areas aren't necessarily happening. You know what I mean? Next, the bartender is finally looking like he's going to be here. He seems like he'll debut in 3.9 with a mixology degree in nothing. He will serve us a number of drinks, though. Beer, whiskey, and cola. But I can't have a whiskey and Coke. But I can have a whiskey and a Coke. Next is animation. The actor status team moved from temperature and hunger work and thirst to our body to body dragging, and this is set to be delivered in 4.0. This team is a really big silver lining in Star Citizen's development. Regardless, every time we hear about the actor status team, they're making progress. This guy Richard Tyre seems really enthusiastic, exciting, and this whole thing, whether you agree or disagree that like temperature and thirst and hunger matter for Star Citizen right now, if there's work in front of them, it seems to be progressing, and that's exciting. So I'm excited to see in the future what more comes from the actor status team. I wish more teams were like that in terms of making significant progress every quarter. Moving on to environmental art. Like previous updates that they talked about on the Microtech Moons, once they were done with those, they're going to be moving on to Pyro, and it seems like they're starting work on Pyro already. And I'm excited not necessarily to see what it looks like, but to see how Pyro will eventually impact Star Citizen as a whole, as it is our next star system, and how that all's going to play out. And this is the kind of first steps towards that, so that's pretty exciting. Then ship art. Basically, they're working on what looks to be a straight-to-flyable instead of concept ship, and not that exciting to me, but in general, there's been some talk. I was on Astropub's podcast and Answer the Call recently, and a little talk about the lack of concept sales recently, so it looks like we should have one coming soon. For audio, I never really talk about audio, but this is kind of cool. With the day-night cycles that we've talked about in previous weekend reviews, there's going to be music changes, whether it's day or night. What appears from this monthly report is only on New Babbage, but maybe in the future for other things. Another thing we don't talk about that much, but back-end services. The only reason I mention this is because they mention iCache at all. It's a very minor update, but anytime they talk about specific pillars related to Star Citizen, and iCache is one of those, I tend to just say it's being worked on. So, just so you know that it's still out there, it's still in progress, and eventually we'll get it, and the things that come with it. Also, new friends list. We talked a bit about this in my video for upcoming features on 3.9, and just in general, I just wanted to point out that them getting this right is vital. Us being able to play together is very important for a game that lacks the substance that Star Citizen lacks at the moment. That substance can be filled by playing with other players. I've been doing a lot of that recently on my Twitch stream, and I guess a little plug here. I'm not working. Come by, watch my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Come hang out. Maybe you join me on some ship adventures. Ship features. Ship HUD conversion continues, so moving from the old HUDs to the new building block system, and more importantly, they're completing thruster efficiency curve work, which is really important to get atmospheric flight feeling right to them. So maybe, just maybe, they can focus a little bit more on the way the ships fly in space, especially during combat. So Now that this is out of the way, we can cross our fingers and hope that ship combat will be a little bit more exciting and fun again. Turbulent. Not much to say here, except there's a number of unannounced features. I could take a crack on what these could be, but outside of a ship sale, I have no idea. What do you guys think? And that's that for the monthly report. So moving on, we do have some interesting roadmap updates as well. So from Roadmap Roundup, we had, again, the friends list rework card added. So the one thing that sticks out from this is pending party invites. So you've ever sent a party invite to anybody and they're like, oh, I didn't get it, can you resend it? Leaving it there pending is actually pretty sweet, and I think maybe this can apply to other things like a shared mission or maybe a transaction in the future, something like that. So that's very cool that that's coming in, because I think that's going to be really useful going down the line. A mining deck. This is going to be on some space stations, and this is obviously just prep for actually hooking up this very closed loop into the game's mission system, as well as its economy. It's very similar to the cargo deck that I think we spoke about last week. This one's huge. Grimhex improvements. This is something that has been a long time coming. This is a thing that's set for 4.0, not 3.9. Mining deck, I think, as well, is set for 4.1. That's a distant future thing. Now, the 4.0 Grimhex improvements are much needed for unlawful players. It adds hangers to Grimhex, so no more risk of getting pad rammed, things like that, because Grimhex is obviously a place where the unlawful people go, and I guess it feels a little bit less bad to pad ram a pirate, but in reality, it's just as stupid. So the ability to have a hangar and protect your ship that way is a positive. On top of that, they also said they're going to add scramble races, or some sort of a special scramble race maybe, and additional content, whatever that may mean. But in general, any attention paid to pirates is paramount for the health and stability of the game. Even though you may not want to be a pirate, the risk versus reward gameplay should be there for all of us, and this is another small step into that direction, so that's nice. Then the Arlington bounty mission, which is the Idris mission, rest in peace. It's gone. It won't be making it into 3.9. There were really two things that interested me about this mission. The idea of completing a mission chain was pretty exciting, as well as seeing the Idris for the first time. But besides that, I didn't really care that much. This wasn't the most exciting thing for me personally in 3.9, but I know for a lot of people it was. So I apologize for you guys that were looking forward to this, that unfortunately you won't get to enjoy it in 3.9, so hopefully soon. Then as far as ships, the M50 updates got pushed to 4.0, and the Prowler is in polishing, so expect to see that in 3.9. And then moving on to video updates, we had a Star Citizen Live, which, in my opinion, was a joke. I didn't watch it, okay? But the premise of it, that we're going to show you how we make advertisements for you buying spaceships in Star Citizen, that's not something I'm interested in watching, and it has no place in this show. We like to talk about the progress of Star Citizen's development, not how they kind of get our imaginations flowing and we buy spaceships to fund the game. Moving on, we did have a video that came out just now about Star Citizen development, Pillar Talk. As I was actually editing my first recording, Pillar Talk came out, so I am re-recording this video. And yeah, I would have already had this video out by the time we're recording this, but I don't feel bad about it. I think the video was lacking a little bit of substance, and Pillar Talk really adds to that. So they started out with persistence, and it is coming to 3.9 from 3.8.2.
That's maybe a redundant question to ask what persistent does for us, but what is this?
I mean, I guess you can answer
it'll mean we go to 3.9, the stuff that you've earned so far on 3.8.2 will stay with you.
It was nice to hear this. I'm looking forward to having my little nest egg moving into 3.9. I actually didn't work that hard and play or grind that much in 3.8.2 because, or 1, because I always assumed that there was going to be a wipe between 3.8.1 to 8.2 and from 8.2 to 3.9. I was kind of expecting a fresh start at 3.9 and then we would go from there. But this is exciting to hear. So I think I'm gonna get back on my horse tomorrow and start grinding a little bit. Moving on, they mentioned iCache and base building in a 3.9 Pillar Talk.
With that technology there is then, that is what we need to be able to do that, and that is our plan. So when that's online, we're working on the aspects that would include sort of what you would call base building. So you would go there, you'd have to bring in the right resources and sort of create your little homestead or your base. So organizations or players can create their own areas of interest.
This is what's wrong with Star Citizen's communication. I get exactly what's going on here. From persistence in 3.9, the next step is iCache. After that, that should allow for base building. But talking about it in as much detail as they're doing here really implies that it's something that we're probably going to be getting relatively soon. Like maybe even by the end of the year, something like that, right? And I think most of us here sitting at home realize that that's probably a pipe dream. So talking about it in this much detail, maybe Chris had a meeting and they discussed this a little bit and he got excited. So he started talking about it because he was excited about it at the moment. But what that does is that gets me excited. That gets you excited. That gets all of us excited. And then we get let down when we see Roadmap Roundup 6 months from now and they tell us your base building's going away. Or it never shows up on the Roadmap Roundup in the first place. Or the Roadmap update in the first place, right? So the idea here is stop talking about features that are not listed anywhere, that are not something that you're positive you're going to be getting to us this year. Let's focus on one patch at a time. I think that's the whole point of these pillar talks now, is let's focus on what's in front of us. Explain to us how it's going to work, why it's important. And I get that's sort of what he was doing here, is he's telling us why persistence was important. But he went so far into the base building and so far into the iCache again that it creates this idea that it's happening, and it might not be. And that's where this disappointment always lies. It's so frustrating. So please stop, please. Now speaking of that, we still don't even have 3.9, and they kind of hint here as to why it still may be getting pushed back, aside from the obvious.
But I think it also goes down to, a more technical level, which is sort of build stability.
We're definitely trying to have a stable build and try to at least be as stable as the previous build or even more stable. And we're willing to hold the build before it goes live for a little longer to get to that stage. So we'd rather not push it out and say, oh, we've made exactly this date, but it's crashing all the time.
Exactly.
And so
there's always the balance between, like, obviously you can't spend too much time on it because that takes away development time.
And you also
but it also needs to be enough time so people can actually enjoy the game and like start playing the game.
So this video came out today, but it was clearly recorded a while ago because social distancing guidelines, work from home, all that stuff has been around for quite some time as far as CIG is concerned. So the idea that these guys were all together in the same room obviously happened a while ago. So it's kind of clear to me that some of the date-driven stuff has gone out the window, and it's way more important to have a polished product for us to play. And I'm okay with that. The idea of having it on the nose on April 1st and be a total disaster isn't necessarily good for anybody. Obviously we're all sitting here at home. I am dying for 3.9. It's been 3 weeks since I've worked, and I was dying to be a true content creator for Star Citizen. That means streaming it every day, making YouTube videos and guides all about 3.9. That was my whole plan for the last 3 weeks, and I haven't had an opportunity to do any of that. And it's frustrating, but I understand, and I understand even more so now that they make it pretty clear that they really want a playable product out there. I'm okay with that. What do you guys think? And then these last two are kind of funny, and we'll start out with Chris getting excited about things that I don't get the priorities.
The environment team did an amazing job on New Babbage, and it's going to be fun to go around there and get your burger or get your coffee.
Don't get me wrong, eating burgers and drinking coffee in game is cool, but you know what would actually be fun, Chris? You want to know what would actually be fun? Maybe having combat matter. Maybe giving us some actual impact on that landing zone that we're walking around, with some missions that we can do in and around it that matter. I know they're not the same, but sometimes it's so hard to see him get excited about things that are so irrelevant to what Star Citizen is supposed to be. And again, I'm having a lot of salty moments. Maybe I'm just cooped up in the house and going crazy, but it's really hard to hear some of that stuff sometimes. It is cool, but getting excited about it when there's so much other stuff that in most of the community's mind is a priority is just weird to me. And also, Star Citizen, guys, it's going to be all right. Not going anywhere.
The big publishers big publishers would never do what we're doing because they just wouldn't want to have to be open to that much feedback.
No, because they're always canceling them.
Well, that's true. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like we're not, Star Citizen is never getting cancelled. We're just going to keep working on this thing until it is the best space sim, or universe simulator, I should just say, not really space sim, because it's a complete universe sci-fi simulation game.
So Sean says the C word, and CR jumps right in to protect his baby. So I thought this whole exchange was really funny. But anyway, that's going to do it for Pillar Talk. It was pretty good. Link will be in the description for the whole thing. They talked about a lot of other stuff related to 3.9 that we've been touching over the last few weeks. So make sure you check it out. It's about half an hour. It's pretty good if you're kind of wanting to see what's going to be happening in 3.9. But it is very difficult in this video to filter out what is actually in 3.9 and what they're daydreaming about. It's ridiculous. Now moving on to other updates, we had a few things. A sneak peek of a Vanduul Image, which was pretty cool. We had our Planet Tech V5 April Fool's joke. Okay, and then a Star Runner right box, which was pretty neat. So guys, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Likes, subscribes, comments, all that stuff. And I'll catch you guys next week. Have a great one. Be safe. Bye, everybody.